I'd like to welcome everyone out tonight for this regular scheduled Oscoda Township Board meeting for June 10th. If we could begin with the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Can I get a roll call, please?
Mr. Cummings?
Here.
Ms. McGuire?
Here.
Mr. Spencer?
Here.
Mr. Taser?
Here.
Mr. Sutton here. Mr. Wishbarth?
Present.
Mr. Palmer?
Here. Next on the agenda is the agenda in additions. I have two items I would like to add to the agenda this evening. The first one, and these will both be under other. The first one would be for the board to approve beginning the RFP process for a new superintendent. I think we should get that started as soon as possible. And the other item, I have a letter from our attorney regarding an article in the paper, and they wanted to have the board approve a retraction from the press. So I think we need to have the board approve that. So those are the two items I'd like to add to the agenda this evening.
Okay. I also need to postpone the IASCO recycling to our next regular meeting.
Okay, we can postpone that when we get to it. Yeah. Anything else?
Nope.
Can I get a motion to approve the agenda with the changes, the additions?
I'd make a motion to approve the agenda with the additions of other number 9 and other number 10.
Support.
A motion by Mr. Sutton, support by Mr. Wisterbarth. Roll call, please.
Mr. Spencer?
Yes.
Mr. Cummings?
Yes.
Ms. McGuire?
Yes.
Mr. Wishbarth?
Yes.
Mr. Taser?
Yes.
Mr. Sutton, yes. Mr. Palmer?
Yes. Motion passed. Next is public comment. For this first public comment, we ask you to fill out a card, and when you come to the podium, state your name for the record. Do we have any cards?
Yes. The first card is Mr. David Carmona.
David Carmona, Township resident. I wanted to address the ordinances that you're going to talk about this evening. I'd like to thank you for considering those. I think they're very well written, easy to understand. The intent is very clear, especially for somebody who may be considering doing changes to his house. It's very clear what I can and cannot do now, whereas before it was a bit vague. Specific as to who needs to review, what the review process is, and who's going to be signing off on it, where it was at best a guess as to previously, and it defines approval with conditions now for the planning board, which is something that was badly needed. So thank you for putting those on the agenda and considering these three proposals. I support them. Thank you.
Thank you. Do we have any more?
Mary Ed Tooten.
My name is Mary Ed Tooten. I live here in Oscoda. And in this first round of public comment, I simply want to thank the superintendent for resigning so that the next board did not have to boot you out. That's all.
Are there any others?
Nancy Roy.
Nancy Roy.
If there's somebody else, could they go first, because I'm trying to get the hearing aids to work.
Do we have something else?
Pam Lovelace.
Pam Lovelace.
I'm sorry, I signed up for the second comment.
Oh, okay.
Oh.
So,
You don't need a card for that.
and it's Nancy.
Nancy Roy, and thank you for waiting for me. Apparently, the hearing, whatever the goggles, or they're not goggles, anyway, they're not working right now. They will not increase in volume. Okay, I'm here to speak about Ms. Klein's resignation, and in light of the election coming in November, I suggested her replacement be postponed until after the new board members are elected and seated. Then you can appoint an interim and for that period of time between August and November. The new board should have a say in who they hire and work with. Thank you.
Thank you. Is that it?
That's it.
Okay. Next up is the consent agenda. We have the approval of minutes for the regular meeting on May 13th and the special meeting on May 28th. Were there any questions or comments on either of those? Next, we have the payment of bills, a total of $393,826.13. That's a check run from June 11th, May 21st, May 28th, and June 4th. The DWSRF report, the CWSRF report, the C2R2 report, the EPA community grant report, and the LCSA reimbursement, and the Mission Street slip lining report. Any questions on any of those?
I noticed that the security firewall invoice was split up over a bunch of different departments. Is that just because every department has to pay a chunk of that, Ms. McGuire?
Yes.
Typically,
I
yes.
figured, I didn't know if you were actually, I didn't know you would split it up over the departments, but, okay, I would just,
Yeah. Can I get a motion to approve the consent agenda?
I would move to approve the consent agenda.
Support? A motion by Mr. Spencer, support by Mr. Taser. Roll call, please.
Mr. Worsterbarth?
Yes.
Ms. McGuire?
Yes.
Mr. Cummings?
Yes.
Mr. Sutton, yes. Mr. Spencer?
Yes.
Mr. Taser?
Yes.
Mr. Palmer?
Yes, motion passed. Next up is the superintendent's report. First is the fire department dive gear purchase request.
Okay, our first item is a request from the Underwater Rescue Recovery Team for the purchase of new dive gear. This equipment is part of the 2024 capital improvement plan to replace the old equipment and outfit the newly certified divers. The vendor selected is a preferred vendor by the Oscoda Underwater Rescue Recovery Team. In keeping with this vendor, it also provides uniformity on all equipment. These items were budgeted in the capital improvement in the amount of $50,000. The total cost for this gear is $45,513.75. I believe our fire chief and the dive instructor is here to discuss.
Good evening. Just briefly, give you a fast rundown on the dive team. We started in 1992. It's quite a ways ago. When we started in 92, I think there was 12 of us that got certified. At that point in time, we had to buy all our own dive gear, all our own equipment. We thought it was a important enough project to do that. We were really gung-ho to bring that service to Oscoda. There was no dive teams in the area. At that time, the Sheriff's Department used to do it, and they dissolved their dive team. So we thought the need was there, and we took it upon ourselves. So from 1992 to now, we've replaced things as needed, but we've got a really hodgepodge of stuff in there. It's good. It was good equipment, but it's not uniformed in public safety diving. That's really critical. This company we want to deal with, they focus on public safety. They're taking care of the Tawas City dive team at this point in time. They have the public safety gear that we need, and Eric has done a fantastic job of bringing this all together. He really made him work hard for us, saved us a lot of money, and I think what we've got out of this was even more than we expected. So it's really a good thing to get that uniformity back to the dive team. So it's one of the most dangerous things we do at the fire department, to be honest with you. So we really want to bring the standards up to where they need to be. So I'll turn it over to Eric if any of you have any questions. He's done all the research on it. He's worked with the company, and he can explain anything you want to know on any of the equipment we want to get. So.
Well, first of all, can I get a motion to?
I would move to approve the request from the Underwater Rescue Recovery Team for dive gear in the amount of $45,513.75 to be paid from Fund 206-000-981.000.
Support.
Okay. Now, does anybody have questions? We can talk about any questions.
You said the part that is the equipment that they're using now, the equipment that the divers themselves provided?
It's a, excuse me, it's a hodgepodge of both. Right now, we are using Poseidon regulators that the department bought actually through the raffle of a Corvette years ago. Those are probably coming up on 18 to 20 years of age. The other things like the buoyancy compensating devices, fins, the rest of the gear are items that are purchased by the individual divers in most cases. I believe there's one remaining antiquated department BC still in use. Everything else is stuff that the guys have bought over time, and it's not uniform, and most of it is simply aging out.
What's the life expectancy of the new gear you're about to purchase?
For a non-commercial or non-public safety diver, it's equipment that can last 15 to 20 years. Being life safety equipment in the fire service, I would rate it more at 10 years before it needs to be swapped out, but 10 years minimum.
Is that for all the equipment or just for parts of it? Are there different, I mean, I'm looking at a maintenance schedule here, because if we're going to spend all this money, then we need to make sure it's maintained and rotated over time so that we don't get stuck in the spot with, where you guys are coming to us with
face mask are all, I would say, life safety, and that's 10 years life on that stuff. Part of the going with the vendor that we're hoping to go with is they do have a maintenance program. They come up and service Tawas City's dive team. At the same time, they would service ours and hopefully catch small problems in the making before they turn into big problems. The buoyancy compensators that we're looking at going with are completely modular so that we can replace parts instead of whole systems. So we're hoping to be able to extend the life, to the 10-year stage or beyond if necessary.
I'll just say that being a certified diver myself, I know how important it is to be able to count on your gear and get down 40-50 feet underwater, and also you can't pull it out of your tank. So it's important to maintain that equipment, to have good equipment to start with.
Public safety diving is a whole different ballgame than pleasure diving.
Oh, absolutely, absolutely.
Half the time we're out there, it's because the conditions got bad and everything else failed. So we usually tend to dive in the worst conditions there is. Mm-hmm. So the uniformity of the equipment, and again, now that we've got Tawas City, which I think that was the greatest thing that ever happened, they come up, everything's uniform between the two teams. So that's a big safety thing in my book. So.
And just real quickly, currently the communication system we use is interfacing with Tawas City. The full face masks that we're looking at switching to are the same ones that Tawas City uses. So there is a certain degree of interchangeability and familiarity between the two dive teams, which we're all excited to be able to partake in.
Okay. Anything else? No. Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. Roll call, please.
Mr. Taser?
Yes.
Mr. Worstebarth?
Yes.
Ms. McGuire?
Yes.
Mr. Cummings?
Yes.
Mr. Sutton, yes. Mr. Spencer?
Yes.
Mr. Palmer?
Yes, motion passed. Next is the police contract.
All right, so Because this is kind of I put it on as a placeholder so I could send the contract out separately to each board member for discussion. And if there are any issues with that, I'm hoping Josh can help me because my computer just, it's done right now. So Josh and I and the police chief, along with the union, sat down with the previous contract that the board had approved to open due to the take-home vehicles and the academy position. So while it was open, they had requested some changes, and that's what we're here to discuss. So Josh, I can't even look at it right now, so I'm working on it.
Can I get a motion to approve the police contract?
I would make a motion to approve the POLC contract revisions as presented.
I will support that. So, everyone should have had an opportunity to look at that. Are there questions, concerns?
Yep, I've got a few.
Okay.
Starting on page 18, I'm assuming the red is the corrected.
Correct.
So the whole page talks about wages, but it doesn't show what the wages used to be for that same page. So I would like to see that. This page. It's got the wages for the wages moving forward, but it doesn't have.
Well, this is what be the start of this year.
Right, but it's all in red, so it's changed,
Yes.
so compared to what it was before. So the red line copy, I assumed we were going to be able to see both
It
sides.
should be in there. I
Okay, it's
apologize,
not.
I can't
Okay.
look at it right now.
Same with on page 20 for talks about the completed service years for the vacation time. It doesn't show the previous numbers, it just has the ones that it was changed to. It talks on page 22 about insurance coverage under 17.3, and I was wondering if the attorney had looked at this yet?
No,
So the attorney has not approved looking at the contract?
we did not have attorney approval on the last contract negotiations.
Okay, so my question is where did we get the information? Because it's going from $20,000 of life insurance to $100,000 and then $1 million of life insurance coverage for any employee that has a death in the line of duty. So where did we get the parameters for that?
Josh, weren't you working on the insurance?
Yeah, we've been working with one of our insurance providers on that. This current policies we have for life insurance are around $20,000, and we're paying a lot of money for those policies. So we reached out to our new underwriter that's doing like the Aflac type policies through Colonial Life, and they have the term policies that'll meet that at a savings to the township and provide for the term of their employment.
Okay, so the township would be paying the premium through Colonial Life?
Yes, like they do now for our standard one.
Okay. And did you say you compared this to other townships in the state of Michigan?
No,
Okay,
to like their POLC agreement?
right.
No.
To see, I mean, okay. Page 36, under employee evaluations, it talks about assigning a percentage. And I know we spoke about it a little bit this morning, but I am not understanding that, so, because it doesn't sound like, it sounds like they're going to, and correct me if I could be absolutely wrong here. It talks about assigning a percentage to each evaluation. The percentage can range from 0 to 5% after their evaluation. And it's based on their pay, and they get it in the second paycheck in December. So it's not for their entire salary, or they get an extra lump sum of the percentage?
So from what I understand, that would be something if, say, so normal COLA increase for police is 4% at the beginning of every year. At their evaluation, if it was felt that that police officer had exceeded expectations, that it would be an allowable percentage increase between 0 and 5%.
And that would have to be backed up by their evaluation?
Correct.
Correct. And you and the police chief do the evaluations?
Correct. Well, superintendent, yes.
What was that? I'm sorry, didn't hear that.
Superintendent and the police chief.
Right. Okay. And then the only other one I had was on page 38. It talks about in 27.4, it was added that management reserves the right to create new jobs or change classifications of existing positions in accordance with the promotion or discipline process outlined in this agreement. I thought that the township board was the only ones that could change, like, because you would have to change the budget, so you would have to have a budget amendment to change those, wouldn't you?
If you created a position, that position could be created. Yes, it would still have to be approved by the board, but that gives the police chief, if he sees a vacant area in his department, he could bring that forward. He can create it, bring it to the board, and it would still ultimately be board approval at the end, but.
Okay, so I guess the way I was reading it is that he reserves the right to do that, so what's that? I guess.
That just allows him to work within the union to create a position.
Okay.
If he needs to.
But then he still follows the chain of command, comes to you, and they then
Correct.
work towards the budget to see if you can afford to do that?
Correct. It's still the same process.
Okay. Okay, that was my only questions.
Anybody else? Any questions? Sorry. Are we ready to vote on approving this, or do I raise some questions that need to be answered?
I am curious, well, so is it going to be a savings, you said, for the life insurance?
Yes.
Okay.
Can you explain what that means, a savings for the life insurance? What do you mean, savings on premium or
On
savings?
the cost of you
I
get a
got it.
higher premium on the term. Right now, the way we have it set up, it was 20,000 whole life policies.
I see.
So obviously, as you're purchasing those policies, officers get older, that goes up every year. Term policy allows you to
I
underwrite
see.
it just for that term. So if something unfortunately happened while they were in the line of duty, they'd have that bigger coverage.
I see, thank you.
All right, any other questions? We have a motion by Mr. Sutton, supported by myself. Roll call, please.
Mr. Spencer?
Yes.
Mr. Taser?
Yes.
Mr. Wusterbar?
Yes.
Ms. McGuire?
Yes.
Mr. Cummings?
Yes.
Mr. Sutton, yes. Mr. Palmer?
Yes, motion passed. Next up is the IET invoice.
Okay, the township through the road commission received a TAP grant of roughly $2 million for the Iosco Exploration Trail project. This grant requires an 80-20 split, with 20% being a local match, which has been met. Your packet contains an invoice from the road commission in the amount of $7,357.12. I would ask that the board approve the payment of $7,357.12 towards the Iosco Exploration Trail to be paid to the Iosco County Road Commission from Fund 101-751-880-572.
Do I have a motion?
I would make a motion to approve the payment of $7,357.12 towards the Iosco Exploration Trail to be paid to the Iosco County Road Commission from 101-751-880-572.
Support, Cummings.
I understand this right, this money we will get back under our grant
Correct.
application. So we have to pay it out, and then we can apply to the grant to get reimbursed for that.
Yes.
Yes, okay. Any questions, comments?
When do we apply for the grant?
What's that?
I think, when do we apply for the grant, or have we?
We
Yes.
already have.
We already have, okay,
We got
good.
grants in place.
Thank you.
All right, roll call.
Ms. McGuire?
Yes.
Mr. Westergaard?
Yes.
Mr. Teaser?
Yes.
Mr. Sutton, yes. Mr. Spencer?
Yes.
Mr. Cummings?
Yes.
Mr. Palmer?
Yes, motion passed. Next is the EPA grant.
All right, our fourth item in my report will be the second pay request for the River Road Water Main Project in the amount of $149,000 from John Henry Excavating. This invoice includes curb cuts, ADA ramps, and paving on the River Road area project. I would ask that the board approve the second pay request from John Henry in the amount of $149,000 to be paid from the EPA Community Grant checking.
Is there a motion?
I make a motion that we approve the payment to John Henry in the amount of $149,000 to be paid from the EPA Community Grant checking account.
Support, Sutton?
Questions, comments? This is part of the project where we're replacing water mains down River Road in our downtown area. Roll call, please.
Mr. Teaser?
Yes.
Mr. Sutton, yes. Mr. Westergaard?
Yes.
Ms. McGuire?
Yes.
Mr. Spencer?
Yes.
Mr. Cummings?
Yes.
Mr. Palmer?
Yes. Motion passed. Next is the shop payments.
Okay, our fifth item in my report will be the sixth pay request in the Phase 6 water main project in the amount of $222,314.63, leaving a total of $504,002.48 remaining on this project. I would ask that the board consider approving the sixth pay request from Schaff and Associates Construction in the amount of $222,314.63 to be paid from the C2R2 funds after reimbursement is requested and deposited into the township's account.
Is there a motion?
I would make a motion to approve the sixth pay request from Schaff and Associates Construction in the amount of $222,314.63 to be paid from the C2R2 funds after reimbursement is requested and deposited into the township's account.
Support, Sutton?
Questions, comments on this? We've had a couple, the last several payments have been substantial, so they must be getting close to being finished up on this project, right?
The main line is basically in, they'll be starting services here within the next week.
Good. All right, any other questions, comments? Roll call, please.
Mr. Cummings?
Yes.
Mr. Teaser?
Yes.
Mr. Sutton, yes. Mr. Westergaard?
Yes.
Ms. McGuire?
Yes.
Mr. Spencer?
Yes.
Mr. Palmer?
Yes, motion passed. Next is the request from Old Orchard Park for self-serve ice cream.
Okay, so I apologize for the last minute, but this is a time-sensitive item, believe it or not.
Okay.
So Mr. Apsidis and Ms. Painter have been busy working on getting a soft-serve machine for Old Orchard Park. They have located a reconditioned, correct? Reconditioned soft-serve machine. They budgeted, I believe, $7,500 for this item, but they have saved money on a couple other items. So what they are asking for is permission to purchase and try out this reconditioned item. I know a lot of the time the board does not like to buy reconditioned equipment, but it is a high dollar item otherwise. and I think it'd be a great addition to the park items.
Okay. Is there a motion?
I would make a motion to approve the Old Orchard Park soft serve machine purchase request from Taylor in the amount of $12,000 to be paid from 2024 capital improvement.
I'll support that. Questions, discussion, comments?
Is it just one flavor or two?
Or 3, because you twist.
Yeah, it could be
twist
3.
it.
Yes, I'd like to, yes. Does it have twist?
Actually, we originally budgeted 7,500 because I had no idea. And then when I found out the idea, I did 1,700 or 17,000. I mean, for an ice cream machine, who would think? Give me a break. So we found one, a refurbished one, which has the same warranty that a new one has from Taylor that we decided we wanted to go with a 24-hour service if anything, parts and labor, anything went bad on it. So when I first originally did it, I was just going to get a countertop one. I'm like, well, that'd be great. Well, that serves like one cone every 20 minutes, so. And then you got the bigger ones, but then they're air-cooled, and there's water-cooled, and there's Freon-cooled, and they got how fast it'll turn over, and oh my goodness, I was like, this is ridiculous. All the stuff that we found out about it. So we ended up finding the Taylor, they had a bunch of new ones too, but the new ones were twice as much as this one. So when we found this one, and this can actually be traded in on a new one if we're satisfied with it. So we've had requests over the years to try this new product out, so that's what we want to do. And if it goes over well and it works out the way we want it to, we're going to trade it in for a newer one on down the line a little bit.
So how many flavors is it?
Say that again.
How many flavors does it carry?
We can carry up to 8.
8?
Yeah.
Wow. That's way more than I thought. I figured there'd be a chocolate.
Look how excited everybody is.
Oh, yeah.
Come on out to Orchard Park. We got salsa. Right now, we're just going to carry 2 because we don't, actually know what we're doing. But when we start getting, more into it, we'll carry more flavors. Yes.
Very cool. Flavor of the day, even.
That's got, we can put toppings on it. We're going to do toppings, and our dairy. Our guy that does our dairy now, our company that does that, they carry all the product. He has all the dishes, everything. So we've got it all set. We just had a new panel put in, if you recall, in the store and the office, and we have spaces because it's a 220. We got to get it rewired, and then we have to put a drain in and it's a water-cooled unit because it's in a smaller area, and the health department wants to see it. So we got everything set. We just need the okay, and we're going to go through with it. So.
I was going to ask about the health department. Does this change the license that you need at the campground?
No.
Oh, good. All right.
Does not.
I have a question. So at one point, I think we carried ice cream. Do we still carry ice cream?
Yep.
Okay, so then this is just an addition.
Some people like soft ice cream, some people like hard ice cream.
Right. Yeah, fair enough. I get that.
Yeah, we're still going to carry all our flavors we have now. We just had, this is just a new thing we wanted to try. We've had requests over it for the last 10, 12 years, and so I decided we'd try something new here. Just another offering for everybody.
Fair enough. Okay.
Will you be able to track over the next year how much we bring in from
Absolutely.
That? So that when
we talked to the guy that does our the products. So like a big bag, they sell these 2 big bags, and so many cones can come out of this bag, and so we should be making so much money. So the way we figured it, this should pay for itself by the end of the season.
Okay. That way we can, when it becomes budget time for next year, or maybe the following year, we can budget for a new one.
Correct.
That pays for itself.
Correct.
Okay.
So I wanted to get it approved. That's why it was kind of a last minute thing. I wanted to get it in before the 4th of July because it takes a couple weeks to order it and then have them put it in, and they got to train us on it, which is like 3 days. I didn't know ice cream machines were that complicated. Right. Apparently it is.
Shouldn't be that complicated.
Make sure it's cleaned properly. That's it.
Here was the thing that kind of was. Taylor is the brand that most McDonald's carries. I know.
So the machine's going to be broken down about half.
But I think it's cleaning has something to do with it. But I don't know.
Sorry.
We'll try.
One last question. So in your point of sale, can you track the sale of what you're selling there? I mean,
Yes.
the flavors as
Yes.
well? So not just counting the boxes of
With our
product?
new point of sale system,
Yep.
yeah, we can track all that.
Okay, fair enough.
I'm kind of excited to see what it'll do, so.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
All right. Thank you.
Any other questions?
No, good, thanks.
Roll call, please.
Mr. Cummings?
Yes.
Ms. McGuire?
Yes.
Mr. Spencer?
Yes.
Mr. Taser?
Yes.
Mr. Sutton, yes. Mr. Wishbarth?
Yes.
Mr. Palmer?
Yes, and I'll have a twist, please.
Point of order, Mr. Palmer. I think we need to do a budget amendment for 5220. If we only had 7,500 in the budget for that soft-serve ice cream machine. Okay. I think we need a budget amendment to go along with the last motion. If there was only 7,500, what I heard in the...
It's all capital improvement items that are purchased by the park are in one fund line. So the money is already there.
Even though they're split out?
Correct.
Okay. Thank you.
All right. Next is our resolutions. Resolution 2024-14. Let's do with the fire millage language.
So in order to get this on the November ballot, Mr. Palmer at the last township board meeting had some questions regarding the ballot language. So that's why it was removed from the agenda last meeting. Since further review, it turned out the language was absolutely correct. So we are bringing this forward to be placed on the November ballot.
Is there a motion?
I'll make a motion that we approve Resolution 2024-14 in regard to the ballot language.
Support, Cummings.
Discussion. Anybody have questions about this? I think it's pretty straightforward. Roll call, please.
Mr. Spencer?
Yes.
Mr. Cummings?
Yes.
Mr. Taser?
Yes.
Mr. Sutton, yes. Mr. Wishbarth?
Yes.
Ms. McGuire?
Yes.
Mr. Palmer?
Yes, motion passed. The next three are Ordinance 165 amendments. This is the first read, so I would hope all the board members who have had a chance to read through these. If you see anything that needs correcting, I'll give you time to speak up. We'll do that. I do know that the Planning Commission goes through this quite thoroughly before they send it on to the board, so I didn't see any major corrections that needed to be made, but does anybody have anything they wanted to?
Not a question about the wording, but just a question about whether or not this requires us having to grandfather in any of the installations of charging stations that currently exist. Like, do they all comply with this, or is there a problem, or do we have to grandfather them in?
They'd be considered non-conforming.
All of them? I see. So at what point does anything catch up? I mean, if they go to replace one, I suppose, is that when this would then end up kicking in?
Then they'd have to come into conforming.
Got it. I see. Okay, thank you.
Any other questions, comments?
Do we have any that are unconforming?
Repeat that, Jamie, I didn't hear.
Oh, sorry. I was wondering if we had any that were unconforming.
He said all of them.
Oh.
Yeah, I think all of them are.
Oh, they all
were
are?
put in some time ago, before this ordinance was changed.
Oh, okay.
I think that was the reason to
That they
make
did
the
this.
ordinance, so that
Okay.
any future charging stations will have to comply with this ordinance.
Can somebody say what, I guess, a primary aspect of the non-conforming charging stations makes them non-conforming? What's the main problem?
Mainly it's setbacks, mainly. A lot of those, there's different types, like a Tesla type charging station is different. They have higher amounts of levels of electricity for charging. There's different series of
that, and they need different equipment for that, and some of that is rather large, so the setbacks, if you put it right on a line, it could be. So our consultant planner, John Iconangeli, brought this forward and to the Planning Commission, and these are the normal standards that is in the industry as of now. It's a new technology. Yep. So we are trying to make sure that for the public safety and make sure things are done correctly.
Sure. By setbacks, are you referring to like it's not far enough back and therefore the car might be too far out in the parking space?
Yeah, well, like for instance, if you put it right on the property line and you're adjoining property, a car could come up from behind and.
Oh, I see.
So you have to have distances and away from the right-of-ways, from the roads, things of that nature.
Got it. So. Thank you.
Okay. Well, I said this is a first read, so I'm going to look this over again. It'll be on the next meeting to approve officially.
Okay.
On to other number ones, CDSMI recommendation.
Okay, this is a request for authorization to complete the CDSMI water service inspections that are required of all municipalities, excuse me, statewide by Eagle. CDSMI stands for Complete Distribution System Materials Inventory. It's a result of what took place in Flint with lead and galvanized service lines. Eagle has come up with a random sampling requirement depending on the size of your distribution system to basically inspect at the curb stop location, which is the point of from the distribution main to, I'll say, the right-of-way line. Whether we have meter pits or not, that's irrelevant, but that's at the point where the public, the municipality's responsibility basically stops at the curb stop, and then the resident's responsibility picks up from there to their resident. To determine, an excavation at that point will determine whether or not we have copper on both sides of the curb stop or a non-copper material, and if it's galvanized or lead, it goes into the record that in the future, when the state comes up with funding, that those changes will have to be made as far as replacing that lead and galvanized. But it is required by Eagle to do a random sampling, and we're at, based on the size of the township, 346 services have to be inspected. We've got a quote from Rowe Professional Services to provide the inspection services in the field, to do the reporting per Eagle standards, and then Saginaw Sewer Cleaning to provide the Vector truck for the pothole inspections or excavations. And the cost of that is a not to exceed $208,000. We feel, based on the information that F&V has provided us on their history of what's out there, will probably significantly reduce the number of, we still have to do the 346 excavations at the curb stop, but going out to the main to determine what the material is, if we see something at the curb stop or up to the residents, will be reduced from 346, and therefore keep our costs less than that $208,000. We have to get this started and completed by October 16th of this year.
Okay. Do I have a motion? All right, I'll make a motion to approve authorizing Rowe Professional Services to perform the complete distribution system materials inventory at a cost not to exceed $208,000 under the Rowe contract for as-needed services.
Support, Sutton.
Discussion. Anybody have any questions for Rick on this?
Yeah, I do have a question. Are these randomly selected locations?
It's an algorithm that Eagle has come up with, basically, like I said, based on the size of your distribution system and the number of services offered from it, the age, the varying ages, so the algorithm will select, the older areas, newer, it's random.
Okay.
So we leave that up to them, and they tell us how many. And then, again, our reporting and stuff will satisfy their requirements. They'll review it. If they've got any questions, they'll get back to us.
Okay.
And then, as I said, if there are lead and galvanized services found, there is supposedly a program coming to fund those replacements in the future.
Thank you.
Any other questions?
When did we receive this?
It's been in the works technically it's been in the works for several years after the Flint situation. Eagle just refined it like in December, as far as that's when they had webinars in January and February for us to attend, and initially it was going to be required to be done by, I believe, the 1st of September. They pushed the date back a month and a half. Thanks to whatever.
Yeah, it just seems like it's coming up off, the deadline's awful quick here.
Yes, it is until, like I said, they didn't finally refine it until the end of last year. And then putting together the program and as far as getting their questions, or our questions answered and what they were looking for. So.
Any other questions? Unfortunately, it's something we have to do, so.
And it's something we have to pay for ourselves, or they're going to reimburse us? You said there's going to be grants coming down the line later?
Possibly, yes.
Possibly, so we may or may not be reimbursed for this, but we're required to spend the money to do it.
That is correct.
Just checking.
So.
Wow. Thank you, State.
Yeah.
Roll call, please.
Mr. Spencer?
Yes.
Mr. Cummings?
Yes.
Ms. McGuire?
Yes.
Mr. Worcester?
Yes.
Mr. Teaser?
Yes.
Mr. Sutton, yes. Mr. Palmer?
Yes, motion passed. Next is the leak detection.
Okay, it is the township, we put together a RFP for leak detection backup, as far as getting a firm on board to help us on an as-needed basis as we continue to go through this leak detection investigation. So we put together an RFP. M.E. Simpson was they weren't the as-read low bid, but they were the one company that responded that addressed all of the requirements within the RFP. And the plan will be to use them on an as-needed basis as we identify areas within the township that we need further investigation other than what we at the township level can provide, and then send them out, do an investigation with the equipment that they have, their specialty, come back with what they find, a recommendation. And then one of the problems with any of this type of detection equipment or detection process is that if there's normal water flowing through the system for residential, commercial use during the day, it's hard to detect in certain areas where we have an excess. That's why we're going to be out there and already identifying problem areas that we want to focus on and a little bit more intensive investigation. And then on top of it, taking it through the end of December, we will get the fall season where we have seasonal residents leave in some of the older areas, and then get hopefully some good information out of that. And then we'll reevaluate that for 2025 in adjusting, our approach to it. But this will be a company that's familiar with this, with the right equipment, and giving us backup at the township level.
Okay. Is there a motion? I will make a motion to approve entering into a contract with M.E. Simpson for leak detection service in an amount not to exceed $47,250.
Support.
Motion by Mr. Palmer, support by Mr. Wusterbarth.
Is that $47,000, is that a yearly thing, or is that just, we're going to spend that amount of money until we run out to find as many leaks as we can?
Until we run that out, and then, like I said, we will come up with depending on what we find, what kind of results we got, we'll have a follow-up plan, whether we extend their contract or look at another possible solution.
But Rick, this is going to be a targeted approach, right?
Correct.
We're going to be using the data, the billing data
Yes.
going forward, and waiting for the seasonals to disappear to see where we have differences, and then
Yes.
you're going to target certain areas based on data that you're collecting.
We're going through the water bills are being gone through to see if any area, for whatever reason, after a certain time, water bills spiked in an area. We're evaluating all of the meter pits between the township, Oscoda Township, and Hersra, and then also looking at some of the areas, the older areas within the system, as far as valve operation and hydrant operation. And we're coming up with a list of areas to send them out specifically in a smaller area to concentrate on that based on the data that we found.
Thank you.
Well, I noticed in the bids that 47,250 wasn't the lowest bid, but there was a bid that was considerably higher of $500,000.
That is the firm that completed the City of Flint investigation. So they have a very high caliber approach. It's a valid approach, but it's a very expensive approach, and I don't think it would be appropriate to recommend that type of approach for Oscoda Township yet.
A little more than what we need.
A little bit more than what we need.
Just a little bit.
Yes. Any other questions? Concerns? Roll call, please.
Mr. Wusterbarth?
Yes.
Ms. McGuire?
Yes.
Mr. Cummings?
Yes.
Mr. Sutton, yes. Mr. Spencer?
Yes.
Mr. Taser?
Yes.
Mr. Palmer?
Yes, motion passed. Next is the first right of refusal, tax foreclosed properties.
Okay, so this is the annual first right of refusal handed out to local municipalities with properties that have gone into foreclosure. So the board can either vote to refuse all right first round, because the second round will come in the fall, decline, or file an application for any properties that are listed in the yellow.
I see.
Is there a motion?
I would make a motion to approve the annual first right of refusal tax for closed properties.
Can I clarify what approval means?
To decline the purchase?
Yes.
Is there support?
I'll support that.
So this is something that we go through every year with foreclosed properties. It has to get offered to us, and then we turn it down, right?
Yes.
I mean, we don't want
We don't want it.
empty lots and things that have been.
We could decide to keep those, though? Is that,
No.
that's what this, but we could.
But you could if you wanted to.
I don't know why we would want to.
No.
No.
Do any townships keep the properties?
Can-
Has there ever been a property, while you've been on the board, has there ever been a property that popped up and you're like, oh, we're keeping that one?
No, but we've had it where it wasn't cotton time and we ended up with it because we didn't refuse it.
Fair enough.
see.
All right.
That's exciting.
So if we don't go through this process, we could end up with it, so that's what it
Thanks.
is. Any other questions? Comments? Roll call, please.
Mr. Taser?
Yes.
Mr. Wusterbarth?
Yes.
Ms. McGuire?
Yes.
Mr. Cummings?
Yes.
Mr. Sutton, yes. Mr. Spencer?
Yes.
Mr. Palmer?
Yes, motion passed. Next item is the recycling, and I believe you wanted to postpone, so I would make a motion that we postpone the Aspen County recycling 2024 until our next meeting.
Yes.
We have the information for next meeting.
Support.
Roll call, please.
Mr. Spencer?
Yes.
Mr. Taser?
Yes.
Mr. Wusterbarth?
Yes.
Ms. McGuire?
Yes.
Mr. Cummings?
Yes.
Mr. Sutton, yes. Mr. Palmer?
Yes, motion passed. Next up is the shred services.
All right, so in your packet, you have a proposal for shred service from, I believe it's Stericycle, Shred It. So this cost is $80.65 twice a month, which is $161.30. It's for 2 bins, one for Township Hall area, one for police. We have a lot of documents, especially in the police department, for shredding. And it's just items placed in the bin, they shred it in front of you, and it's done. That way, when we purge, things are purged quickly and not wasting time having to stand around a burn pile and wait for them to be burned.
So we currently are using this service?
We do not. Right
Oh,
now.
we don't have a shredded service at all?
No, we do not. I spend a lot of time in front of the shredder if I have documents to shred, pending.
What, was this service budgeted for?
No, it's not.
What department would it fall under, or would you split it up like between a bunch of different ones?
No, for Township Hall side, it would go under unallocated. That's usually where general services go to, but the police has a budget.
They pay for their own, basically?
Correct.
So we'd only pay 1 pickup fee, but 2 container fees?
Yes. Twice a month, if they come twice a month.
So do we have to use them twice a month? I mean,
I don't
let's say
think
we
so.
don't have anything to shred that month for whatever reason.
Well, we shouldn't if there's nothing to shred. I wouldn't think so.
So will we like pick a day and go out to the records area and then everybody purges at the same time and they shred all of our stuff, or?
We could, depending on, what you have to shred, or if you're up to date on your shredding.
Right.
I know we all went through a while back and purged a bunch of items, but it took forever to get rid of. So
Yeah.
I think a shred service would be handy. That way we could all keep up better on our purging of old documents.
Well, right, and then it's not sitting around out at DRMO waiting to be burned.
Right. Or wasting, like Josh, I believe if he has to purge ballots or whatever, he has to be there the whole time until they're gone. Which, depending on that amount, could be, a day or two, or, it just seems a lot easier to pay a service to have that done than waste DPW and other people's time at work.
I guess outside of the ballots and that, what is our document, kind of a governance decision? Like, how long do we retain documents in general? Some I can imagine we have to keep forever, but...
Some, it depends on the retention schedule, which is at the clerk's office, but some documents need to be only held for a year. Some need to be held for 7 years. Some don't need to be held at all, depending on what it is.
Yeah, I can imagine tax documents are 7 or 8 or something like that, right? Stuff like that.
I would defer to Ms. McGuire, but...
Fine enough, so. Josh, we have a schedule for that?
Yes.
Cool.
So do I have a motion?
So are we going with 1 month, once a month or 2? Twice?
Well, it's scheduled for twice a month. Greg, do you know if Officer Alexander was the one who did the quotes? So I'm not sure if we have to do 2, do we have to do 2 quotes or 2 pickups?
So we set it up for twice a month right now because, quite honestly, I can fill probably 6 bins every 2 weeks with what we haven't been purging that we should be. We can reduce it back to once a month if we decide in the future that we're not filling the bins and don't need to. It's adjustable. But it would be an adjustment that we would make moving forward. We would go down to once a month instead of twice a month.
Got it. so we're not locked in a year of twice a month.
Correct. And this isn't a yearly contract or this is just
Service.
a monthly basis, monthly service.
Okay, good. All right, thank you.
So is there a motion? I'll make a motion to approve the shredded services request as presented.
Support, Sutton.
Any other discussion, questions? Roll call, please.
Ms. McGuire?
Yes.
Mr. Worcester?
Yes.
Mr. Taser?
Yes.
Mr. Sutton, yes. Mr. Spencer?
Yes.
Mr. Cummings?
Yeah, yes.
Mr. Palmer?
Yes. Motion passed. Next is the Community Development Director.
So, after doing several interviews, I have chosen a candidate for the Community Development Director, and I would like to get approval for salary. So, the person that I have chosen as our best candidate would be Miss Nancy House. She has quite a bit of expertise in that area. And I believe that she has a lot of knowledge, especially she's already gone through the Corridor Improvement Authority creation up until just before we had that done. So she's got plenty of experience with the chamber, and she's currently on the EIC. So that would create a vacancy on the EIC, but I feel she's the best candidate that we have, and I am requesting $48,000. That's why I posted our ad that we placed. Salary range 48 to 55, and I believe 48 would be proper for her.
Is there a motion?
I would make a motion to approve the Community Development Director's salary of $48,000.
Support.
Got a motion by Mr. Sutton, support by Mr. Taser. Discussion. Any questions, comments?
Did Ms. House submit a resume?
She did.
Is it in this packet or is it somewhere else?
I have it at my office. I assume since we created the position that the hiring was up to me, and I'm not asking for anything above the minimum salary range. But it's available if you'd like me to send it to you.
Yeah, thank you. I just think we've seen it before with police officers and things like that, so I thought it would be here. All right.
Any other questions? Roll call, please.
Mr. Taser?
Yes.
Mr. Sutton, yes. Mr. Worcester?
Yes.
Ms. McGuire?
Yes?
Mr. Spencer?
Yes.
Mr. Cummings?
Yes.
Mr. Palmer?
Yes. Motion passed. Next is the facade grant. Okay. This is the facade grant that was submitted by Ms. Lovelace.
This was approved at the EIC meeting on Thursday.
Yes. I'll make a motion to approve the facade grant for 102 South State Street to Pam Lovelace Enterprises Incorporated in an amount not to exceed $10,000.
Support, Sutton.
Is there discussion? Anybody have any questions about this?
Oh, thank you. The building needs to be painted so bad.
Yes.
I just had one question. One of the documents that was submitted, that I don't know if it was an insurance or what, but it was expired.
I submitted a new insurance policy.
With that one? Okay, yeah, I did see that one. Okay. I didn't know if it was the same thing or for something else. Okay.
Yeah, the first one was in there, it's expired.
Yeah.
there was a new one that was.
Yeah, I saw
current.
that too, but yeah. Wasn't sure if it was for the same thing.
Any other questions, comments? This is a facade grant where the work has to be done and we reimburse people after the work is finished. And as Mr. Spencer noted, this building has been in sad shape for a long time and desperately need for facelifting. So glad to see somebody stepping up and doing something with this.
And the daycare right next to Dairy Queen.
Any other questions, comments? Roll call, please.
Mr. Cummings?
Yes.
Mr. Teaser?
Yes.
Mr. Sutton, yes. Mr. Worcester?
Yes.
Ms. McGuire?
Yes.
Mr. Spencer?
Yes.
Mr. Palmer?
Yes. Motion passed. Next up is the superintendent resignation letter. I don't know, I was sad to see this when I was presented with it. I think Ms. Klein's been doing a fantastic job the time she's been in there. She will be the fourth superintendent that I've worked under as a time on the board, and I think she's done as good a job as anybody that we've had to date. So I would make a motion to accept her resignation with deep regrets.
Support with deep regrets.
Support?
Yeah, I'm sorry, I hit my microphone.
Is there any comments, discussion?
Tammy, I just want to say thank you. You stepped into kind of filling a role that we didn't intend was going to have to be done. And I think you've grown very well in the job, and you've done just a fantastic job balancing everything in the additional roles with EIC, zoning, that we just weren't able to backfill appropriately. So effectively, Tammy's been wearing 3 hats for almost a year, and with everything else that goes into the township, and let's just say the environment, I think you've done just a fabulous job. And when I talk to the employees that are underneath your role, they're very happy to have been working with you. And I know they're going to be sorry to see you go. I know I am for one. But I know on the bigger and better things, we haven't talked yet, but I know that's coming. So I say thank you for the time that you put here. And you're not gone, so you're still here till August 2nd, right?
Yes.
But thank you again. Yeah, I think you've just done a great job.
Any comments, questions?
I also want to say thank you. I think you've done a marvelous job. I know the pressures that you've been under. You have gone over and above. I truly believe that. And I know that your future endeavors will you'll go on to great things. So I appreciate all you've done for us, and you'll be greatly missed.
I would just like to say thank you for everything, and you know you'll be greatly missed by all the employees and everyone at Township Hall.
Roll call, please.
Mr. Spencer?
Yes.
Mr. Cummings?
Yes.
Mr. Teaser?
Yes.
Mr. Sutton, yes. Mr. Worcester?
Yes.
Ms. McGuire?
Yes.
Mr. Palmer?
Sadly, yes. Next item that I wanted that I added, would like to have the board approve moving immediately to begin the RFP process for a new superintendent.
I'll make a motion that we move immediately to send out an RFP to replace the superintendent.
Support, Sutton?
Any discussion on this? Roll call, please.
Mr. Spencer?
Yes.
Mr. Cummings?
No.
Ms. McGuire?
Yes.
Mr. Wurstabarth?
Yes.
Mr. Taser?
Yes.
Mr. Sutton, yes. Mr. Palmer?
Yes, motion passed. Next is I have a letter from our attorney. It has to do with an article that was printed by Annual Press, and the attorney is suggesting that the board request a retraction on this article, and so I need approval from the board to do that. So let me read the letter first. In the May 29, 2024 edition of the Oscoda Press, Manuel Crest wrote an article about the police mileage ballot language that was approved by the Board of Trustees at our May 13, 2024 meeting. In the middle of the article, Ms. Crest inexplicably writes, "There appears to be an error in the ballot language." She offers no facts or law to support this false statement, which demonstrates her lack of knowledge when it comes to the legal requirements for millage ballot language. The ballot language was drafted by the township's attorneys with information provided by the township clerk and township assessor in accordance with the law. There is no error in the ballot language. It is unclear why Ms. Crest felt the need to include this statement in her article. Whether she made this statement knowing it was false or made the statement without verifying the statement's veracity, it was nothing short of reckless. The police millages had been in place since 2018 when they were first approved by the voters. The ballot language proposes a renewal of the millages at the same level they were originally approved at, meaning the township board is not asking the residents to increase taxes. The millages are not renewed. If the millages are not renewed, it will negatively impact the township's funding for police department. Perhaps if Ms. Crest understood how public safety in Oscoda Township has improved since the millages were approved by the voters, she would not make baseless statements such as that contained in her article. The Township Board hereby requests that the Oscoda Press require Manuel Crest print a retraction of her statement and that there is an error in the police millage ballot language. So it's up to the board if you want to require that retraction.
I just had a question. Frankly, I'm not familiar. I didn't read the article. So was there a question about the language during the meeting? I wasn't there. I don't think I was at that one. Yeah.
No, it was
It
passed by
wasn't,
the
I see.
board.
Okay.
Well, I will make a motion to request a retraction of the article from the newspaper.
Support. Sutton?
Is there some reason why we have to write it in such a way that it sounds like, it's intends all of this malice and forethought and all of that? I mean, it just seems like we're asking for a retraction or a clarification. Just wondering about the tone of the letter.
Well, this was written by our attorney. They took exception to the idea that there's a suggestion that their language was incorrect.
I got it. So she's defending herself. Okay.
And the board has to act on it?
Yes.
I mean, we couldn't have just went to the paper and said, hey, Manuela, we don't appreciate that, that's not the facts.
The attorney wrote it that the township board hereby approves. So that's why I brought it to the board for approval. I can't approve it myself. I'm not the township board.
Okay. Just asking a question.
Any comments, questions? Roll call, please.
Mr. Wurstabarth?
Yes.
Ms. McGuire?
Yes, but only because I wish we would have went around it a different way.
Mr. Cummings?
No.
Mr. Sutton, yes. Mr. Spencer?
No.
Mr. Taser?
Yes.
Mr. Palmer?
Yes. Motion passed. That is the end of our business. Next up on the agenda is our second public comment. Anybody that wishes to speak, please step up to the microphone, state your name, and can be on anything you want to talk about.
Good evening. My name is Marietta Tootin. I live here in Oscoda. And I missed, under resolutions and ordinances, I didn't hear a word about Amendment 10.1 through 10.5 and Article 4 rezoning of the Wordsmith District to Flight District. I just didn't hear that. So if you could please address that in board comments, I'd appreciate it. The second thing is that when I attended the Planning Commission meeting at Warrior Pavilion, the owl was not in evidence, and I asked Tara later why, and it was because she was out sick. You know, the owl is a very important part of our township record keeping, and it allows those of us who can't physically attend the meetings to see the videos after the fact and at least keep up with what's going on. And there's no one else trained on that thing but Tara, and it's not that difficult according to her. So my recommendation is that that at least one or two members of each commission or committee be trained in the owl and its use and be able to use it in the event that Tara's out. They can come and pick it up at the township hall and take it to the meeting, record the thing, take it back, that sort of thing. It just makes it a lot simpler. At that planning commission meeting, the subject of Fertile Field came up again because it is part of the site plan for either new municipal buildings or rebuilt municipal buildings, that whole discussion. But Fertile Field is one of the 4 sites that was under consideration. And I am going to ask the board that Fertile Field be removed from consideration for a municipal building. The next thing is the township electronic board has not been working as you come up from the south on that side for some time now. And I haven't heard any discussion about getting it replaced or what it will cost or anything about it. And I'd like to add that as an agenda item. My last thing is, why is our township not part of Develop by Osco? We are only one of 2 townships in Iosco County that are not actually part of that. And for us to join Develop by Osco would be less than the cost of the soft serve ice cream machine out at Old Orchard Park. You know, less than half. There you go. And it's not that I don't want them to have a soft serve machine, but I think that we need to take a look at Develop by Osco. I really haven't seen a lot of presentations to the board as to what that might mean to us as a community. That's all.
Thank you. Anyone else? Yes, sir.
I'll go. So I think it's a little important. I just want to ask Supervisor Palmer if he's going to address David Boback, Oscoda, Michigan. Just want to ask Supervisor Palmer if he's going to address the polished turd comment from Clerk Sutton on his official candidate page. It's been removed by now, but it's been copied a few times and shared. So I'd like that to be addressed because you talk about decorum all the time. Where's the decorum in Clerk Sutton? I also followed up with a bizarre post about prayer for the wicked. Seems like Clerk Sutton posts a lot of things that he's projecting. So I just, like a little discussion on that. Just seems toxic, especially when we've had a lot of people resign and they cite a toxic workplace environment. So it's probably not good for that. Might be adding to it, just might be something to discuss and, talk about it privately with Clerk Sutton. Our continuous 50% plus water loss is caused by chronic underinvestment. I know it's really old, but, we haven't looked at it in a long time, and now we're just playing catch-up, and it's gonna cost us so much money. So I really appreciate the new way that you're looking at things, because you're looking at more information instead of just the meters. Because it seems like you were just looking at water loss from the meters, and I think this is gonna give you a better picture of what's happening. The chronic underinvestment also can be seen in our entire town, especially the beach. I think the beach has been, we call it our jewel, but severely underinvested, and, the children's park, that's been talked about being worked on ever since I've lived here, and I think I've lived here permanently for about 11 years now. It's always been talked about, and I understand there's a grant out there right now, but why are we waiting? I mean, we've got $120,000+ that we just received from the dispensaries. Maybe we can use some of that money for investment, and do something immediately and not wait. What is the other thing? Also, the children's park isn't really ADA compliant. The equipment on it is over 25 years old now, I think, maybe 30. And the sand underneath isn't really safe. It's not as deep as it should be. So I'm afraid, it's just not safe for the children. And I think we can really do better in that part. And I really think that's about it. And I just wish that we'd do more to make the town look better. Invest more in our town, and because our volunteer groups can only do so much. So I really appreciate it, and I know you guys do a really good job. It's hard up there, and I wouldn't do it myself, but, I just really appreciate, look at the town a little bit more and just try and make it look better. But thank you.
Thank you.
I second that.
Hi, thanks for giving me some time to speak. My name is Douglas Hartlip. I live in Oscoda. My wife and I moved here from Heartland, Michigan in November of 22. So we're having a primary in August, correct? And the last few days I've been tossing something around in my mind. And I've spoken to a few residents, and I've gotten extremely good positive reaction back from them. What I would like to do is organize a old-fashioned town hall debate or town hall meeting / debate / question forum before the primary, so we can see what you guys are all about, other than just, and no offense, standing here and talking about all the nuts and bolts, and also give us a chance to see the new candidates. I mean, they don't get a chance. So my question to you each today, and I hope each one of you could answer yes or no, because it is simply just a yes or no answer. If we could organize something like that, would each one of you, if you're up for re-election, participate? And you go right down the line if you'd like. Can we start with you, Mr. Westerbath? Yes or no?
You'd know more about it, but I'd be
Well,
willing
it's a
to.
yes or no answer.
I'd be willing to, as long as it
Okay,
fits my schedule.
that would put you down for yes?
As long as it fits my schedule.
No, well, that speaks volumes, what you just said.
But
And
that's
I don't
fine, you
mean to
can
be
take it for what it
confrontational,
is.
but
I'd
that's-
be willing to
you're up for-
participate
if
if
you're up for
it fits my
election-
schedule.
This is democracy. This is something that this is the staple of our country. This is how town meetings have been going on since the 1700s.
Again, sir.
This is, I'm sorry, excuse me, this is public comment. We don't answer questions.
Okay, well, I know you don't have to. I understand that. It would be if you would want to. If you want to, it speaks volumes. If you don't want to, it speaks volumes.
Board members can address that in board comment.
Pardon me?
Board members can address that during board comment.
So you don't wish to say yes or no. You can't say to me right now today that you would like to participate in the town hall meeting with the new
We
candidates.
don't answer questions during public comment. This is your time
Okay,
to
I
make a
understand.
comment.
That's fine. Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Hello, my name is Pam Lovelace, and thank you for letting me speak tonight. I wanted to talk about my two entities, Pam Lovelace Enterprises and PKL Cares. I started PKL Cares as a community nonprofit in March of 2023 when I was battling breast cancer, and it changed me. The whole situation of dealing with that really did change my heart, and I determined that I wanted to do a nonprofit to address some of our social issues here in Oscoda, such as affordable housing, child care, and food insufficiency. These are the missions of PKL Cares. And we are looking to open our child care center. We're in our final stages of approval for licensing, hopefully to open by July of this summer. Our food pantry also, we are trying to get that open by July of this summer. And next year we will be addressing affordable housing. I wanted to bring this to attention. Palma, would you come up for a moment? It's my executive assistant, Palma Leonati. She is a new resident to Oscoda. And I want to introduce my big sister, I'm sorry, wrong sister. Woo! Deborah Revels, who's visiting from Sacramento, California, first time here to Oscoda and to Michigan. And I just really wanted to provide some information to the board about the buildings that we are working on, cleaning up. It's really important that we contribute to the cleanup efforts, particularly in the downtown corridor, starting with the child care center, with the new IGA building that we have recently acquired, and we will have our executive offices in the corner of F41 and Cedar Lake Road. We're looking at not only moving in and starting business to advance Oscoda, but to also clean up as we go. We were recently just informed that we were selected to move forward in the final grant application process for Consumers Energy People Award, and it has never gone to anyone on the northeast side of the state. So I am representing Oscoda in this effort for our food pantry and community garden. So I really am seeking support from the community, and I have handouts so that you can see where we started with these projects and where we are now, so that you can see how sincere I am in just doing this from the bottom of my heart. It's my love letter to Oscoda for supporting me through the most difficult time in my life. And I thank you so much for letting me speak.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Dave Carmona, resident. First, I want to start with some informalities. We're starting to kick off our entertainment season here in town. This Thursday with the beach concerts, and Shoreline Players is doing summer songs as the kickoff down at the beach concerts. And this is also the last weekend for Steel Magnolias here in the theater. It sets behind you guys. We ask you all to come out, take a look at the show. It's been well received by the public so far. So please come on out Friday night, Saturday night, or Sunday afternoon. I want to thank you for creating the social district. It's a good idea. It's been very successful in a lot of towns and communities across the state. Business and events are trying to figure out how to effectively use this space. And to do that, we need additional infrastructure support from the township to make this work well and grow. The current state, people get plastic cups or food and have nowhere to dispose of it. Would it be possible for DPW to provide trash receptacles designed only to accommodate handheld items like cups and wrappers? This burden belongs to the township, and having trash cans readily available will allow people to roam the district as intended and dispose of their garbage as they move around. Currently, Parkside is the current receptacle for all of that. They change the bags frequently as they can because they're very busy this time of the year, and that burden should not be on that business. Seating is also an issue in the form of picnic tables. It would entice people to congregate and be social. Currently, there are limited seating locations provided by a few businesses. This is appreciated, but seating in the form of picnic tables in the grass area between the parking lots would be very helpful. The provision of some 120-volt outlets along both sides of the street near the light poles for use during events for either vendors or musicians. Right now it's difficult to get electricity. Wednesday nights we're trying to start live music down there, and the theater has graciously allowed us to plug into their building. But having that infrastructure down there would be very helpful in making that district come alive. This could be a major draw during our summer seasons as a complement to the Wednesday night movies, the Thursday night concerts and bike nights, and Friday and Saturday night crowds looking to get out of crowded bars for a few minutes. The investment in picnic tables, garbage receptacles, electrical outlets is small and would greatly enhance the district you created for us. The creation of growth and energy by outfitting this space will pay big dividends in the future and for years to come. Please consider seriously nurturing the social district with these improvements and create a lasting legacy for our area. And lastly, I suggest you seriously reconsider the vindictive personal wording in the letter from your attorney. It is not unusual to ask for the press to make a retraction, but to address the author directly and in such personal terms, I believe is inappropriate on the part of this board and beneath your ability to express yourselves. Thank you.
Thank you.
Tim McMaster, Oscoda resident, business owner, landlord, and I just want 30 seconds to tell Tammy Klein, my dearest friend, how much I've appreciated you throughout this whole process. Any questions I need answered, you were always there for me. I thank you. I wish you the best of luck on your next endeavor.
Thank you.
Too short. Hello, everybody. My name is Palma Leonati, resident of Oscoda, and I think we have about 2 feet in Oscoda. I'm not in Oscoda, but in Oscoda Township on our property. So we get to pay that extra $100 of water, but that's okay. And I work for Pam Loveless Enterprise. Love working with Pam and her mission for what she has here in town. Some of the papers that I passed out to you show pictures. We just wanted to share with you. We're really excited about being able to open up the childcare and the pantry. So we just really wanted to share with you where we've been and how it looks. That's the purpose of just kind of handing out something fun that way. I wanted to address, Pam had mentioned the Consumer Energy Foundation grant. As she had mentioned, the People's Award, you put a letter in of intent, and only a few people, or only a few companies get the ability to move on to the next phase. And we were very excited to be able to be one of the selected few. And we were in the office the other day, and we were taking a look at the state of Michigan. And if you look in our area, and I was really wanting to show you a picture of it. If I find it, I'm going to email it to you. It shows that in our area and most of the Northeast, the amount of grants given in this portion of Michigan is lacking. It's zero. So it's about time for us to get a grant. And of course, the People's Award that it comes from the Consumer Energy Foundation. It's a $250,000 grant. That's what we're going for. We have to submit it by Friday. They didn't give us much time after receiving the notice on Thursday. One of the things that we humbly ask of the board is a letter of support. Again, the time frame is nuts because we have to have all of our paperwork in by the end of the day on Thursday to be submitting it. But to have a letter of support from you, our township, would be huge for us. And it would only benefit our community with what we have planned for the pantry. We've talked to the hunters, in regards to having protein. We have talked to having dairy and also canned goods. So we really want to get the program launched, and if we could, like I said, humbly ask for a letter. I know it's really last minute, but we're trying to scurry and get this in because we really feel passionate about having it for our community. So I hope you would give us that consideration. And I can leave you my business card if you want to get in touch with me to send it over. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else?
One more. Oh, you got it. Oh, you're good. Go ahead, sir. I am good.
Brian Haley, Oscoda. As I said years back now, and time flies, you know, the prior board set up this board, minus Mr. Taser, and Richards as a supervisor. I did file a FOIA, and the clerk knows about it, he can provide you with it. But we both did talk about it a little bit. Did you know that this Renovar development, while Furtaw was fully vested in the 5-year parks plan? In other words, it was not to be sold. The stewardship clause was clear. There's to be no major disruptions, Mr. Taser, in that. And I know you reached out to the DNR, but you did not give them full context of what was going on. And the reason I bring this up is because Ms. Klein, who I never pressed on this because I knew she wasn't involved, it would have been Mr. Mitchell. So when you accepted this new board, you accepted a closed session meeting for Furtaw, which of course is illegal. And I think Mr. Worcesterbarth, you know that. And we can't have these things ever to happen again. And it's caused a lot of problems. Caused Ms. Klein problems, not from me, because I knew the background on this. We need a full review in chronological order of what transpired here. And we have not had that yet. And we cannot allow this board, because it looks like there's going to be some members changing in the fall. We can't turn over this mess to them like the prior board did to this board. The biggest problem I had with all of you is that you never just stood up and told the truth about it. Said this was wrong to do, now we need to fix it. The DNR Trust Fund grant program is the finest park development grant program in America. So on earth. We've benefited, what, $3.5 million at least over the years? And that's something we showed disrespect to. Why did we do that? This is not to knock the MEDC. I've spoken to Miss Miller, fine lady. I get where the MEDC is coming from, but they are a corporation. They are not a part of our government, certainly not. They call themselves quasi. In the end, they are a corporation. They give us advice. That's it. You can take their advice or leave their advice. They don't tell us what to do. They said to us, as you well know, we are to develop marketing plans and to try to market three properties in the downtown district. We only have 3. We've got Furtaw, we have Lake Street, so you knock that off, okay, fine, we'll accept that, have to. Some won't. I'm a business guy, so I'm gonna try to do what's best and make that thing work. And then the other one's the Township Hall. Well, the good news is through time now things have changed. Okay. At one time you were talking 45,000 square feet that we needed. You were talking library, community center, senior center, oh boy, oh boy. The goal was to get us off the Township Hall property. Now it looks like to me, according to WTA, and what we're looking at now, because the schools are now going to build a community center. It looks like to me we roughly need 25 to 28,000 square feet total for our police, fire, and municipal building. So that keeps us right where we're at.
Thank you,
At the
Mr. Haley.
township.
That's 4 minutes, thank you.
That went quick. Well, we'll pick it up again next week. How's
All right,
that?
thank you.
All right, thanks.
Anyone else? Yes.
Yeah.
Should I give you guys these? I just got 5 of them, or just don't worry about it.
We'll share.
Hello, my name's Tony, and born and raised here in Oscoda, Michigan. So I'm here today, I have a proposal for a disc golf course here in Oscoda. They recently have one built, 9-hole course in Harrisville, and I'll give you the gist of it. So, throughout the country there are now 8,000 or more disc golf courses. In Michigan there are 527. It's a low capital, low maintenance. We just need some land. And with Elmer's being here and I'm a builder, there's a lot of, volunteer that could go into building this course. We just need some guidance, some funding, some land, and in that paperwork that I dropped off, I just would like to get the ball rolling possibly on something like this. And I don't know, this is new to me, so I don't know how, I'm not a politician, so I'm here today just looking for some guidance. So that's that. Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Good to see you again.
Yeah, you too. There's some land on base, lots of land.
Anyone else? Any other public comments? That's going once, going twice.
This gentleman here?
All right, next up is board comment. Ms. McGuire? Didn't mean to choke you up.
You're all right.
Skip me for just a sec. I'm sorry, went down.
Deep breath, deep breath.
I have a couple of things. Let me find that other one. Okay. First off, I want to start with an apology to the public. At a couple meetings ago, I was talking about the audit from 2020 and 2022, and I misspoke when I was referring to the audit summary for the general fund. We did not overspend the budget. The audit revealed that we managed to stay within the allocated budget and no fund balance was used to cover the excesses. So I apologize for any confusion for that my earlier statement might have caused. That's all I have about that. I do want to, I know I've been talking about this for some time with some of the other board members on the finance committee, but just over a year ago, we passed a resolution for public safety and fire emergency response recovery and the schedule of cost resolution. And we talked about getting an update when we sat down with the fire department. We were going to look at this a year later and see where we're at, see how much money we've collected, see how much it's offsetting, see if it's been beneficial, if we're missing out somewhere on something else. So I would like to have some type of presentation done. It looks like it mostly points to you, Tammy, unfortunately, about.
Sure.
Yeah, you and Josh probably. And I can give you whatever information I have for any money that we've collected, but just would like to see where we're at when we're going to be working on the budgets coming up. That's all I have.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Taser?
Yeah, first of all, I'd like to thank the Planning Commission for the work that they've been doing in the township. This evening, we had first reads on 3 separate amendments to our 165 ordinance. A lot of work goes into amending an ordinance with countless hours of reading, researching, and investigating. Just as we did our first reads this evening, a first read is that information is put into the packet, and all of that information is in that in our packets tonight. That's for us to, at this level, to review that information, and then we'll have a second read process, and then after we approve that, 8 days later, it becomes law. What people don't really probably don't get is that the Planning Commission has a first read, a second read, and a public hearing on these very ordinances. So it takes a long process to get that to this level. And then it's another process to get it beyond this level and bring it into law. So a lot of eyes and a lot of people get to see these amendments that are happening. We're very lucky in Oscoda Township to have a planning consultant that helps us do that, but the work of the Planning Commission is so important to review all of those things that are being brought forward and make sure that we're doing what's best for the communities. In order to do that, one of the most important things for our Planning Commission is training. Our township is one of the few townships that mandates 6 hours of annual training for Planning Commission members and also all board members, which is, we get high regards from that from associations like the Michigan Association of Planners, and they talk about us a lot for this mandate. The RRC best practices during the training course, they even certification courses, they even mentioned us having that certification process. That's 6 hours of mandatory training. So I wanted to point those things out. I also wanted to point out that Oscoda Township for a number of years has been bringing training here for our board members. We've been offering that training for 50-mile radius to surrounding municipalities, and this is the Michigan Association certified trainings. Last week or so ago, we had 6 hours of training here at the Warrior Pavilion, which we offer that free of charge for these training services. This is wonderful. No communities don't do that. Northeastern Michigan has been severely lacking in the support of those training. When we need to do training, we usually have to go to Frankenmuth or Gaylord. Now that's coming here. So this is a good thing in the surrounding area. The last one we had Planning and Zoning Essentials course and a Site Plan Review certification course by a MAPS trainer who happens to be our consultant, our planning consultant. So it went over 18 people attended that. I think actually that was the least amount we've had in these trainings over the years. We've had as many as 50 people come to these trainings. It's very important training, and I just wanted to thank the community for and let the community know what we are doing on the Planning Commission and in our township to stay above the curve. So I just wanted to say that. Now, I wanted to address something. I was a little, I got an email a couple of weeks back from Ms. Kelly Brown concerning a statement that Ms. McGuire made, and I wasn't quite sure about some things about that. She was asking for the name of the document that this number came out with, and there was a very distinct number that you mentioned was $701,603 and I'm glad you apologized for that. I really do appreciate that, but I need a little bit of clarification exactly where that kind of number came out. That's a lot of money, and we can talk about that later, but I you know, if there's a document and if Ms. Brown is looking for that document, then we should probably provide it, but apparently there's not. It was just a mistaken number, but that was a very distinct number, and that stood out to me, and that's why when I got that email from Ms. Brown with that, and that number stood out, I wasn't quite sure what to make of that. I would hate to think that we were overspending $701,603 off of our budget, because as a trustee, it's a fiscal responsibility. I'd like to know about that.
Right.
So thank you. That's all my comments.
Mr. Wusterbar?
Again, Tammy, I'm sorry to see you moving on, but I know bigger and better things for your future. And again, thank you for your time. You just did a great job for us. So, appreciate it.
Mr. Cummings?
Thank you. Yeah, I just had a couple questions about the upcoming election and wanted to know if, Mr. Sutton, could you tell us when the absentee ballots would be available for pickup?
Absentee ballots have been ordered, so we're just waiting from the county. She just sent those over, so they should be in within the next 2 weeks.
So is there a date or?
Not yet, she just sent it over.
So,
To
okay.
request for all the ballot proofs. We just approved those for all the townships.
Got it. Okay, cool. And then with the new change of early voting, is that the term we use? Is that the official term, the early voting?
Yes.
So when does early voting begin for people for?
Early voting would start, look at the calendar. One day. Early voting would end on the 4th of August. It would start, oh, I go all the way back here now. On the 27th of July.
Of July?
Yes, it goes 9 days up to the Monday before the election.
Got it, cool. So I wanted to make a pitch to the board for a future topic, maybe the next meeting. It had to do with the major election changes that Mr. Sutton's been talking about for the last couple of years, actually, and that are all coming to fruition this year with all of our elections. And I'd like to suggest that we modernize our township ordinance that currently limits yard signs, that they can't be posted for some 30 or 45 days, I don't remember which. But I remember when I was starting on this board 8 years ago, I had asked Mr. Stalker, hey, by the way, I've got election signs, I want to know when I can put mine out. And he referenced this ordinance, and I don't remember whether it was 30 or 45, I still don't remember. But I remember him saying that he didn't enforce it because of absentee ballots and stuff like that at the time, which has always been around for us. So now with the way, all of this is all going down with all of these changes to election law, it seems to me that maybe this 45, if taking it, assuming it's 45, 30 wouldn't even get us out the door with folks with the absentee ballots. And 45, depending on when you're going to get the ballots in, might give people days to get their name or their campaign or whatever out there. So I was kind of thinking that maybe we could consider either, an X number of days, like let's say 60, which I kind of hate putting a number in there, but use relative language, like as in maybe 2 weeks prior to the availability of absentee ballots or the start of early voting, whichever comes first. Something along these lines. Anyway, and then I guess the other side to it was, does the ordinance cover all yard signs? Or I don't even remember ever seeing the ordinance. So does it also include non-political signs? I don't know. I have no idea. So anyway, I thought it would be something that we could maybe take a look at, maybe even ask the township attorney, take a peek at, and tell us whether or not it's up to par. And maybe we could have a conversation about it in a couple of weeks. That was it. Oh, and one other thing, I wanted to ask about the letter of support request from Ms. Lovelace. Is that something we could even accommodate? Because we don't, we're at the end of our board meeting and it wasn't something we could vote on.
Well, we were asked about that earlier today, and Ms. Lovelace has sent some information, but what I wanted to know was who are the other candidates, because I wouldn't want to support one candidate and not another if there happened to be one in our area, was my concern.
I see.
But I have no problem supporting your effort. I would just like to know who the other candidates are, so that we're not overlooking one to support the other, is my only concern.
Fair enough. I get that. Okay.
Spencer?
Yeah. Furtaw Field came up again, so I'd just like to toss back out there. I can't speak for the rest of the board members, but I myself can say that I have heard the community. I don't want anything built on Furtaw other than park either. Let's make some nice walkways, put up some nice bathrooms out there, continue to use it for events and get-togethers, and maybe get some picnic tables out there for people to hang out on. And that's pretty much where I stand on that, just to give everybody a little bit of peace of mind. Nobody's talking about selling Furtaw. And the Mr. Root came up and was talking about an Oscoda disc golf course. That's I think this guy's eavesdropping on my conversations, because I was just talking about that with some other members of the board and some other members of the community, where I think a prime spot for that would be the back half of Whole Island. There's a lot of area out there, there's lots of trees, lots of area for walkways, so that we could get birders out there to see because there's a lot of wetland back there. And I think that would be an excellent spot to be able to branch off the walkways in the non-wetland areas and throw a frisbee down the way and hit one of those disc golf holes, if you will. So I was going to tell him that, but he must have had to go. So that's I'm looking to maybe get into some parks here in the next term if we get back up here. So that's what I'd like to say. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Sutton?
I would just like to say thank you to Tammy, and again, sorry to see you go. And I would also like to second Jeremy on Furtaw Field. We put the resolution forward to remove that as disposable and is not being looked at as a buildable area. That is an area that we want to preserve as a park/event space for future generations to come. So just to let everybody know, that's not something that this board is even looking at.
With that, I would just, again, like to thank Ms. Klein for the tremendous job she's done for Oscoda Township over the years, not just as superintendent, but as in the utility billing department, DPW. There is assistant to the superintendent, several superintendents, and done a marvelous job, and thank you. I know you gave a date of August 2nd as your last date. Is there any possibility you could extend if we're not able to get someone on board prior to that? Maybe a week or two, or a month, or 6 months, or...
We can talk about that. We'll talk about it.
I know you said you wanted to have a smooth transition, and I know you meant that, so if we might impose on you a little past August 2nd, that would be appreciated, but we'll come to that when we get to it. The other thing I'd like to mention is the handicap kayak launch and fishing pier has been completed out at Radlick Park. If you haven't had a chance to go out and take a look at that, I would encourage you. Our DPW built the pier and did a phenomenal job building that. And we recently got the actual mechanism for the kayak launch. It arrived, and then the company recently installed that. So I've been pushing this project for the last, 2 years, 3 years. Mm-hmm. And now that it's complete, I will be going to Vila to collect our $4,000, which they promised us for that project. So hopefully I'll have a check for you here. So,
awesome.
That's all I have to say. Thanks for everybody for coming out tonight, and I will call this meeting adjourned.